AskReddit. r/AskReddit by Reddify. What's the dumbest thing you did as a teenager? When I was 13, a friend and I met an adult woman in real life that we had met online, hoping for X. It ended with us being chased out of a trailer park by 3 men with a baseball bat and no X. Tell me more, tell me more. Was it love at first sight? Summer after 8th grade. And I'm staying with my best friend for a week while my parents are on a romantic getaway. We discover AOL chat rooms and immediately start talking to strangers. And being 13 over 14-year-old boys, we are talking a big Excel game. Of course. Both of us are virgins. I hadn't even made out with a girl yet at this point. We start talking to this girl, Ali, who lives relatively close by. She's 18 and a rising senior at the high school in the next county over. We exchange tons of pictures and talk about all the things we both want to do to her, most of which I'm sure is cringeworthy in and of itself. But we don't know any better at this point. Eventually, she wants to meet. I should explain here that my friend and I are literally prepubescent. I'm not impressing anyone with my pants down at 13. And I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. But being horny kids and seeing a girl want to meet us and touch our peens gets us too excited to decline. We agree to meet at our local Walmart and get my friend's mom to drop us off under the pretense that we want to look at video games and play the store demos. I have never been more nervous than preparing to meet this girl, seeing as how 13-year-old me was convinced I was going to lose my virginity to her. We meet Ali, who in retrospect is not at all fazed that we are practically children. We make awkward small talk in the candy aisle. I make some terrible jokes about Tootsie Roll Midgies being an offensive name for a candy, and that they should be called Tootsie Roll Little People. Ali makes some comment like, "Is your peen a midgie?" and then grabs me by the crotch and pulls me in to kiss her. We make out in the Walmart aisle. After we're done, my friend informs me that my eyes were open, which is weird. Ali takes this as an opportunity to kiss my friend. Seeing as how he's the expert, she does so, then rates the two of us. She said we were equal, but that I used more lips and my friend used more tongue. This is probably more detail than you guys need. But every moment of this day is burned into my brain. She asks us if we want to go back to her place to continue what we were doing. We say we do. She drives us about 10 minutes away into a trailer park in the bad part of our town. We get there, and she basically says she's going to blow us. Who wants to go first? We both make up excuses as to why the other should go first. We are both nervous. But in this moment I realize I'm absolutely not ready for anyone to interact with my peen. We both say we are thirsty, and she brings us water. We are talking, and eventually I run out of water. I'm nervously sipping from an empty cup, and calls me out on it. Eventually she gets to a point where she's saying, "Come on, are we doing this or not?" So finally, I say, "No, I don't think so." She gets upset and start asking us if we are not attracted to her. This is where my brilliant 13-year-old mind, to this day I can't quite understand why I thought this was a good idea, says, "No, you're very attractive. But it's just that we know you've done this a lot before. And the thought of all the peens that have been in your mouth before mine grosses me out." It was kind of true, and for some reason I thought this would be a polite way to let her down. I don't know either. But it was the wrong answer. She kicks us out of the trailer and calls her friends on the phone. I overhear her saying, "You need to get down here right now and kick these little freshmen's asses." She tells us that we should start running because her best friends will be coming from just a few trailers down to kick our asses. We don't need much more than that to take off. But we are 13 over 14 and miles away from home, essentially stranded and lost, and running in some random direction. We see behind us that 3 guys, who looked like men to our newly teenage selves, are chasing us, and one of them has a baseball bat. We do have a really decent head start on them, and are pretty quick little dudes. But they are terrifying. We run, and I panic, and call my friend's mom. He is begging me not to. saying he'd rather deal with the ass beating than his angry mother on my emergency use only super expensive every minute mid-2000s cell phone. I frantically yell I can't explain, but we are in a very dangerous situation and we need you to get here as soon as possible. We are passing the Ford dealership on Route 10. We are very luckily still pretty far ahead of them, but they will not stop chasing us. Eventually, they start closing the gap. But after about 8 minutes of running, my friend's mom swoops in on the side of the road. By the time I'm scrambling into the car, these guys are close enough for one of them to grab my leg and get my shoe off of my foot. I manage to get inside and get the door closed. These guys hit the car with the bad ones, and we are off. Very luckily, my friend's mom is super understanding. We decide to tell her the whole God's honest truth, because we're terrified. She's glad we didn't go through with anything and happy we told her everything. She promises not to tell my mom, because I would have been in way more trouble than my friend. She says we got lost taking a long walk, and that's why I used the cell phone. I still got in trouble over losing one of my shoes. Very funnily enough, my first class in high school was with two of the guys who chased us out of the trailer park. They didn't recognize me, and we became pretty close friends. By the time I told them we had an encounter the previous summer, they laughed it off and called me a dumbass. TL, DR 13-year-old me and my best friend agree to meet up with a woman we met online for X. We get there, really don't want to do it, and have a very awkward time trying to talk our way out of it. By the time we actually turn down the offer, she gets so mad that she calls her friends to come kick our asses, and we get chased out of a trailer park by nearly adult men, from our perspective at least. Teens accidentally ride a flaming sofa through an old guy's fence. Me and couple buddies were bored one weekend, so we decided to go browse the thrift shop. We walked around checking out all the weird hip people try to sell when we come across this disgusting sofa. It was $20 and probably overpriced. We made crude jokes guessing at how a couch could ever get that gross when we noticed something dangerous. A hush fell over the posse. Dude, it's on wheels. In our town there's a street called 14th. It's a boring name for a very exciting street. It's a long, moderately steep street with no lights or stop signs from end to end. We'd ride our skateboards down it almost daily. Bombing 14th was something every youth did on their chosen set of wheels. Nobody's ever done it on a couch before though. There was no discussion. We were going bomb 14th on a couch. Ricky buys the couch because he has the best allowance, and we proceed to push this thing 4.4 kms carat THANKS carat GOOGLE carat MAPS uphill to the starting point. A cop stopped us along the way wondering what the hell we were doing. Joey plays it off and says we're just taking it to his house to put in the basement. Ricky whips out the receipt to prove it wasn't stolen, and we are back on track. We were so hyped we barely took a break at the top. We hopped on right away and started the ride. Our theory was that an old couch on tiny little wheels shouldn't be able to build up much speed. One of the wheels didn't spin and the rest barely moved at all. We thought maximum speed would be 20 km/h. No big deal. We underestimated gravity. The sofa ducking hauled ass. It was fast and hot, damn was it fun. We even had a bit of steering. When we all leaned to one side it slowly drifted in that direction. Extra laughs were had when we noticed a trail of putrid smoke pouring from the seized up wheel. Maybe a minute of joy goes by before we remember that the pitch is ahead. The pitch is a short but ridiculously steep bit of 14th. Every local skater has a crash story from the pitch. We tried dragging our feet, but the sofa doesn't slow down a bit. It's sailing on, and we are along for the ride. I considered bailing off, but it was moving fast and the concrete didn't look too inviting. The couch enters a pitch, and like a degenerate version of Splash Mountain we let out a collective holy fuck. Near the bottom of the pitch is where the couch decides it's had enough of being a hooligan plaything and hooks hard left. We slam full speed into the grass ditch and get sent hurtling into a wooden fence. We break through and wind up in a heap of 3 wannabe hippies, the remains of a section of fence, and a couch whose one corner was beginning to ignite from the heat of a seized wheel. Turns out the owner of the fence was a retired old man who was on his back deck smoking a pipe. He had a front row seat to the entire show. He was laughing so hard he could barely ask if we were okay. We were mostly okay. Bruised and cut up all over. But luckily nothing major. We apologized a ton and offered to do pretty much anything as long as the old guy didn't get us in hit. He said I was young and stupid once. Well, maybe not quite as stupid as you three. He brought his truck around and we doggedly loaded the couch and busted fence bits in the back. Then he told us to get lost and try not to die from being idiots. Thanks cool old guy. Edit. Obligatory thanks edit. Woke this morning to a flooded inbox and some shiny internet coins. You guys are all the best. This is living. Same story. But we used a dishwasher with wheels. Yours is better. What the duck kind of dishwasher has wheels? I went to the midnight premiere of the last Lord of the Rings movie with some friends drunk on Jagger and dressed as Gimli. I was the shortest of my friends. We got in a mock fight with a bunch of similarly dressed characters while in line, which turned into a real fight when our Legolas did some spinning bow attack and accidentally smacked a girl in their group in the face. We got kicked out and didn't get to see the movie. I never told my dad for fear that he would never look at me the same. This is the saddest story in here. My heart goes out to you. And my axe. I came to school drunk. I used to be very shy. Drinking made me extrovert, which made me feel better about myself. I drank way too much and threw up in class. The guy next to me had vomit all over his t-shirt. It was so bad I passed out and I woke up in a hospital. Did you throw the vomit at him? Obviously I didn't want to. When I realized what was about to happen, I turned to my right and stood up. I puked as soon as I got up. He was on my right. When I used a China-made grappling hook from Amazon to climb an abandoned factory that was shut down for its chemical wastes. Let me clarify, when I attempted to use a Chinese-made grappling hook to climb a building, I ended up with a broken clavicle, sprained legs, and a hole in my shoulder. I remember your Tifu. I jumped off a cliff because a girl dared me. The power of the female dare is shockingly intoxicating. Mix that with being a teenager and we don't have a hope in hell of being smart. I found the cure when I was younger. If a cute girl suggested that I part myself in precarious circumstances, presumably to impress her, I would excuse myself, quietly wank, and then return to reassess the situation. After her father won an age discrimination case, a teenager posted on Facebook all about how the family was going to spend the money, which violated the non-disclosure terms. She cost her dad $80,000. Technically it's the father who violated the non-disclosure terms by telling his daughter, "Yup. My dad blamed me for losing his stamp collection. But he gave it to me when I was 8. His fault." I put Vicks Vapor Rub in my eyes to irritate them so they'd get bloodshot and make me look like I was high. I was an idiot. In high school we'd always swim in pet. I had it in the morning, so the chlorine in my eyes made it look like I was high for the rest of the day. Every day. You're not kidding anyone. Michael Phelps. I isolated myself in my room, stopped hanging out with friends, and gave up my entire social life. All for my internet girlfriend. This hit lasted for over a year. I did something similar, but it wasn't for a significant other. I just faded from my real life friends for internet friends. Stayed in my room, and only left to use the bathroom and heat up instant food. Laid in bed all the time with my laptop always within 3 feet from the bed. Got angry at my family for coming into my room or talking to me. And I took my anger out on my family. It lasted over 3 years. I might have been slightly depressed though, because it got worse later on. I'm doing that exact thing right now. I'm not really sad or angry at anyone though. I should probably try changing this lifestyle, but it's so easy. However, I do feel like I'm missing out on what should be the most active years of my life. I feel like I'll regret this later on. Back when you didn't need a passport to drive into Canada, I wanted to go into Windsor with my friends, since the drinking age there is 19. Couldn't find a copy of my birth certificate anywhere. Decided to scan and edit my brother since it's similar. Just had to change name. X. And 1 digit of the birth year and date. I'm incredibly lucky they only gave it a fast once over at the border, and that I didn't end up in huge legal trouble. Without a doubt the stupidest thing I've ever done. They are bored. Sometimes stupid. Sometimes doesn't give a duck. Years ago I had to change my passport and I needed a paper from my home country. I couldn't go there myself, since I hadn't had a valid passport and it'll be a one-way journey. So I've asked my brother do it. And he did. After weeks of waiting he got the paper, only it was issued to him, not me. So, duck you. I've brought it to the embassy anyway, and guess what, no one noticed, different name, and I've got my new passport anyway. If you are white, the Canada/US border might as well not exist. In my case. Oh, I can't help you there. Your last name is listed before your middle name and different from what we have on our system. Better deport you in case you are a terrorist. My friends and I bought a live lobster, put it on a leash, and took it on a 5-mile walk at 3 AM. This is normal where I'm from. Florida?